welcome to a brand new episode here of the
Geek Buddies. Hey! If you hate it, you think it's cheesy, I'm thinking of you right now. I'm thinking of you.
I'm thinking of you too in these strong arms. We got so much to get into here in the world of the Geek Buddies. We got so much to talk about on our main show. New York Comic-Con is happening right now. Not too many announcements, but there are some trailers that drop, so we'll be talking about some of those trailers. Some news going on in the world of Spider-Man and also that Superman and Krypto photo. What do we think about that? Where is this going? A lot of stuff we're going to dive into here in our main show. This is our main show of the Geek Buddies. For them of you who may be new, we've also been reviewing Agatha all along and reviewing the Penguin. So if you like what you see here, go and watch our reviews of that as well. The way our show works is each of us talks about a geek news item, talk about it amongst ourselves for your entertainment, take a couple of breaks, and then we roll on out of here. But we should introduce ourselves first. I am the Outlaw John Roca, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm a television actor and animation writer. And as of about 48 hours ago, a commercial actor, because John, I didn't tell you this, after 20 years in LA and doing almost 50 television shows, I finally booked a commercial.
Hey! What can you say what it's for? If it's a national?
No, I mean, I'll tell you once we stop recording. I will say it's a company that has done a lot of commercials.
Oh,
that's all I'll say.
Awesome. Good to see you in a Verizon commercial. That's awesome. I love it. A McDonald's commercial, even better. I love it. I love that idea. That's so good. I don't know how many conversations I had with Shannon McClung over the years where Shannon McClung told me, I'm not a commercial actor. My style doesn't work for commercials. Clearly, I'm not. So the fact that he finally booked one, this is a banner year already, with voiceover being another big thing that you've booked recently. So it's great. Yeah.
I mean, through the process, I was also saying, I'm not really a commercial guy. This isn't going to work out. When I found out I was the guy, I'm telling my wife, I don't know. This has happened before. I don't think it's going to work out. And then I actually had to have my agent, after emailing me, she had to get me on the phone and be like, yes, this is actually happening.
Just to make sure you accepted it. That's hilarious. There you go. Well, that's good news for you, Shannon. Absolutely. All right, well, let's get into things here. And speaking of Shannon, I think you start us off, brother man. Where shall we go first?
We shall go to trailers.
Wow.
Speaking of the Penguin and speaking of New York Comic-Con, I think all of our trailers debuted at New York Comic-Con, maybe except for one. But the first one, we got the mid-season trailer for the Penguin. We mainly want to talk about this because, as most of you know, we are reviewing the Penguin every week, and the three of us are loving this show, especially after this last episode where we got the backstory of Sophia Falcone and where we're going forward. I mean, knowing where that episode ended up. I mean, obviously, if you have not started watching the Penguin, maybe tune out for about 60 seconds, 90 seconds.
Sure.
But the leadership of the Falcone family is gone. The Maronis know that Oz tried to double cross them. Who knows what's going to happen? We see Sophia ascending to this head of a family, and Oz on his heels again with his one true ally, Vic. The show has been so much fun to watch, so much fun for the three of us to chat about, and this is just a lot of great expectations of where the series is going to go. But Johnny, why don't we start with you first? What did you think of the mid-season look at the Penguin?
I have to say, everything you thought about the Penguin up to this point, it is all changed now. I mean, the trailer makes it very clear that it's the Maronis, it's the Falcones, and it is the Penguin. So this is an interesting battle, and who knows where the triads sit and what part of the triads sit with where. So there's a lot of moving pieces in this. They've essentially turned the Penguin into an even more of an underdog here. Is Victor his only ally in this whole fight, or will Victor turn on him by the end, even that once he ascends to power? Clearly, he achieves this power. We know what's going to happen. But what we see from the trailer is a much more bolder, stronger, kind of sexier, energy from Kristen Milioti here as Sophia Falcone, those big old heels. Like, she is commanding her space. That sexy black top she's got in front of all this money, saying, if you come with me, I will give you a family. The way she's addressing Oz in the conversations, that scene by the plane where Oz is clearly being detained by her people, and she walks up calmly and confidently to him. This is a different Sophia than we've seen before, and now there's power and stones behind her. Penguin is a bit kind of like, we're the underdogs. We're going to save Gotham. We're of the people. We're of the people kind of approach, right? And then you've got the Maronis. Not sure how much of the Maronis we're going to see. We see Johnny Vitti getting tortured. Poor Johnny. And then we get all this stuff going on here of moving pieces. And where's Victor's role in all of this? And what is his mom's role in all of this, as she's highlighted throughout this trailer as well? So there's a lot to get excited about. I feel like these first few episodes got us ready. And now they've taken the brakes off the roller coaster, and here we go. So I'm very excited off of this trailer.
Mikey, is the Iceberg Lounge going to stand the Gotham gang civil war? What do you think?
What I think is, where is Batman? That's what I think. I got done with that trailer, and I'm like, look, I've bought it so far. But we're an all-out gang war, and where is the Batman?
Exactly.
Like, that's what I want to know. But no, I get it. I get what they do. What I really like about it, we talked about this a little bit in the review last week, but this trailer really illustrates it well, which is the pacing in the show is great. Because they are barreling through stuff. We are halfway through the season, and the entire Falcone family is taken out, and the entire balance of organized crime in Gotham is completely topsy-turvy, and Sophia Falcone knows everything that Oz has been lying to her about.
Yeah.
In lesser shows, this would be the penultimate episode, and then we would get to the finale. Like, the fact that, much like Agatha is doing right now as well with their storyline, the fact that we get sort of to the 5th episode, and we know we've got several episodes left to see the aftermath of this, is really great. The other thing that I'm really enjoying about this is Matt Reeves is doing a good job of doing a realistic version of what is a big part of Gotham City in the comics, which is the escalation of Gotham City. That you have these big, larger-than-life, weird heroes and villains doing weird things. And with this show, you see how what the Riddler did at the end of the Batman led to this kind of big issue with organized crime in Gotham, where the Falcones were kind of staying back. Sophia Falcone comes back, and you just watch everything go. You watched Oz make his move because Carmine was dead, which happened in the Batman when like everything that Catwoman and the Riddler did directly led to Oz making his move. Oz making his moves led Sophia Falcone to do what she did. So you're just seeing how, if Matt Reeves was allowed to just keep going, everything that happens, whether it's the Joker breaking out of Arkham, whether he does his take on the Scarecrow in the next movie, like whoever it is, Black Mask, it doesn't matter. Like, Matt Reeves is kind of doing here's where we started, and then you just watch the dominoes fall. And this whole series is dominoes falling, leading us to the next Batman movie. And I just think it's so well done, and it's so exciting. And this trailer just sort of delivered on the promise of what we're hoping for, which is just everything going to shit and watching Oz like dig his way out of it over the next several episodes.
I mean, it is the definition of a true companion piece. I mean, Vogel has talked about this a lot, how the prequels, however you felt about them, the Clone Wars animated series made the prequels better. And even though I thought The Batman was a good movie, I didn't think it was a great movie, but I thought it was a really good movie. The Penguin is making The Batman better. And watching how hopefully it is going to dovetail into The Batman Part 2. And, Johnny has said many times, like, I hope we get a second season. Maybe we do. Maybe between Batman Part 2 and Batman Part 3, I mean, if Matt Reeves is able to conclude his trilogy, maybe we do get another adventure with Oz, which has been so well done and so enjoyable. But the Penguin comes out 9 p.m. on HBO. You can also get it on Max the same day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're on the West Coast, it comes out at 6. And our reviews come out on Monday.
Yeah.
You look like you had something, Johnny.
It's a fascinating situation to hear Michael Vogel say, if you let a creator just finish what their plans are with their DC character, then we can see where they ended up and what their overall goal was. And I mean, maybe the issue here was that Zack Snyder was given the wrong character to do a 5-year plan with, possibly. I'm just throwing it out there.
I have been yelled at by Snyder fans
this week,
all week long on Twitter.
Really?
I do not need you yelling at me too, because Zack Snyder didn't get to finish his mess of a story.
Oh, how dare you?
We'll talk about it in a minute when we get to Krypto. We'll get there, John. We'll get there.
Fair enough. Enough. I just appreciate
our next trailer is for another HBO limited series, and this is I think going to be the last trailer for Dune Prophecy. So this is the 10,000 year before Paul Atreides set series about the Bene Gesserit and how they kind of came to power. This one stars Emily Watson, Olivia Williams, Travis Fimmel, Mark Strong. For someone like, obviously, these two gentlemen were big fans of those two Dune movies, and I imagine are eagerly anticipating the third Dune film that Denis Villeneuve is working on. I myself was a little underwhelmed by Dune. I acknowledge the artistry that it took to make it, but I was like, this isn't really letting me in. I did enjoy Dune, the second one, the sequel, much more. It was just a lot more engaging. Looking at the trailer for this series, again, even though I didn't connect with everything narratively, you cannot deny the artistry and the scope of this world that Denis Villeneuve and his creative team have come up with. I mean, it really is just a really, really stunning looking series. And I didn't come out of Dune being like, boy, that performance didn't work. All those performances were good. I just didn't know what the hell they were talking about. But I'll throw it over to you, gentlemen, first. Mikey, what did you think of our look at Dune Prophecy?
I think it's smart. I mean, we said this from day one with the trailers, but the Bene Gesserit are arguably one of the most interesting things about Dune.
Oh, yeah.
And diving more into their origins, why they did what they did, why they decided that they wanted to sort of do kind of do all the behind the scenes wheeling and dealing that the Bene Gesserit do is interesting. Beyond that, I think that Dune, the movies, sort of talk a lot about the Imperium. They talk a lot about all of these planets and these people ruling these planets, but we really only we spend 98% of the time on Arrakis. So the promise of seeing the rest of the Imperium, the promise of kind of seeing the breadth of the Imperium and kind of getting to understand the politics of this universe a little bit more, to me is really, really exciting. So I hope they deliver on it. I hope it's not completely dry and just a lot of talking. I hope that we have a good bit of action, because you never know. I mean, Dune is, to Shannon's point on his feelings about the first movie particularly, Dune is kind of an intellectual property.
Yes.
There is action for sure, and Denis Villeneuve really brought the action, particularly in the second movie. But
Shannon, I think he's taking a shot.
I know. I think you just called me a dummy.
Not calling you a dummy, but I'm saying it's a different kind of sci-fi. So,
I'm not saying I don't get it.
It's a thinking man sci-fi.
We said. Speak slowly.
I'm just saying, me hope HBO go big boom boom so Shannon is what I'm saying.
Shannon
me hope Shannon get pow pow boom boom.
Johnny, do you have any shots on my intellect that you'd like to take right now?
No, I'm just more perplexed how you thought Lord of the Rings wasn't slow, but Dune is slow. The thing I would say for me in this trailer is, we just talked about the Penguin. And so when HBO takes on these types of properties, they rarely fail. And I'm excited about this. And all I could think of was Ahsoka and the Night Sisters. And I'm like, this is what the Night Sisters should have been. This energy. And clearly you can tell this is a little bit influenced by the Night Sisters are influenced by this thing with the Bene Gesserit. But I like the talent here. Emily, this is an Oscar-nominated actress, right? And since Breaking the Waves, she's delivered wonderful performances in numerous types of projects. Olivia Williams coming in. This is something new I haven't seen Olivia do. She brings that kind of energy to it, so I like it. Mark Strong, who, as we said before, is WB, HBO, DC's damn hero here, coming in as this strong leader who is essentially dealing with the emergence of the Bene Gesserit. What's the reaction going to be? And then I don't know the actor who plays that the bearded guy in the trailer who's clearly against the ladies here. So
Travis Fimmel.
Travis Fimmel. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with Travis Fimmel. So you've got him kind of coming to undercut the ladies here. I liked this energy. I like the vibe. This is going to be one that you sit back on the recliner and go, just entertain the hell out of me. I'm following it, especially if you're a Dune person. So I get Shannon, it might be too, but I think there's going to be a lot of political. No, I'm not saying that.
I get it, Shannon. It might not be your cup of tea. John goes, I'm going to sit back in my recliner and reflect on the intellectual nuances. Shannon, it might not be for you.
No, but I mean, this might be like, what do I want to liken it to? Where you kind of, this might be like House of Dragon, because there's a lot of political intrigue. If the characters are interesting, if the storylines are interesting, I think this will be fun to watch. And we might be asking our questions too, like, what's the connective tissue to the main houses that we're seeing in this particular series compared to Dune 1 and 2? So yeah, I like this. Looks so good, man. Yeah.
Well, Johnny, thank you for using smaller words so my brain could process it. Quick digression, just because John took his Snyder shot at Vogel. Mark Strong. Again, I'm a huge Mark Strong fan. He delivers a fantastic performance in everything that he's in. I do hope in James, and I know I'm going back to DC. I do hope in James Gunn's new DC universe that they give after Mark Strong. Like we talked about, Josh Brolin had done a lot of superheroes. I know Mark Strong's played a lot of DC characters. I hope they give him a good one in this universe, because man, that guy has earned it. But in either case, Dune Prophecy comes out November 17th. On HBO. That brings us to our next trailer. After a very moody teaser and a kind of iffy reveal of your main monster at Halloween Horror Nights, we get the proper trailer for Wolfman. This is the new film from Lee Winnell. This one is starring Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, Sam Yeager. Again, this is just more of what has been promised from that very, very moody teaser, that you have a family that's moving in the middle of moving to a wooded area. There's a car crash and they end up fighting for their lives against a monster who looks like it might be one of their family members. Again, the fascinating thing about this trailer, and I really liken this to Lee Winnell's other films, like with The Invisible Man and Upgrade, is he does small casts.
Yeah,
and I think the confidence behind this, and granted, we're basing this off a trailer, the confidence that you are letting this story ride on the shoulders of three people really speaks to what I feel like, how we're going to feel about those characters, and just the strength of the storytelling. But I will throw it over to you, gentlemen, first. John, do we start with you? We started with you last time, or no, we started with Mikey last time. So Johnny, what did you think of our second look at the Wolfman?
I mean, this thumbnail alone gives you the energy of this film rather. And I love it, and I'm here for it. And I love Lee Winnell's work. And as I mentioned when we first, I think, talked about the teaser, he loves to do horror in a way that is also a social commentary. And I know we've seen other horror films that clearly have social commentary within them. If you look, Night of the Living Dead, whatever, horror has a long history of social commentary within it. But the really good horror does it in kind of a subtle way. And clearly, you saw in The Invisible Man, that was about, the abuse, the physical abuse, but also about how society doesn't listen to women when they're saying certain things are happening, and how white rich men get away with doing certain things because of their technology. Who am I thinking about right now? Who has an ability to do technology and gets away with saying the dumbest things. So you see that happening in here. And when Shannon, I wish Shannon.
Hey, what?
But here clearly you're looking at, obviously it's the Wolfman story. He gets cut and he becomes the Wolfman. By the way, that opening sequence in the trailer there's phenomenal, with the getting out of that truck and what have you. It's incredible, the fear of all of that. But this is something that has infected him from within, and it is causing him to turn on his family. And so clearly it's working on the surface level that he's becoming the Wolfman, but it can also work on the lower level, which is how many of us are having issues with our family members because they're believing certain things. We see them becoming something else than we thought they were. And how do we deal with that? And how is it affecting the family? But so you can look at it at that level, but also the smart thing about how is his inability to understand the words that his wife is saying as he's transitioning into this Wolfman, I think is I've never seen that in a Wolfman movie. So it's genius to throw that in there. So, and you're stuck in the house. So as you said, Michael, it's not only a small cast, it's a small set. It's all contained within this house and the surrounding land area there that's involved. And I love Julia Garner being part of this. I mean, Gosling, I think, was supposed to do this, and then Christopher Abbott took his spot. Gosling would have been an interesting choice, but I kind of like that we don't know too much about Christopher Abbott as an actor, so we can see him become these characters and character. And then the young girl there is playing Ginger, the young actress. I think she's doing an excellent job in the trailer. So the overall mood and energy of this is why I love Leigh Whannell when he does any kind of horror. And so I'm crazy excited to see this and and to be hanging from the ceiling when I'm watching the movie.
Mikey, you ready to howl at the moon? And again, use small words here. What'd you think of the Wolfman?
Wolf man. Yeah, go ahead.
How'd that truck get up in that tree? That's what I want to know.
Good question.
How'd that truck? I am with John. The beginning of this trailer, I thought the whole thing, the sequence with the truck and then being trapped in the falling, like it was just, even based on the trailer, I was like, this is a fucking great sequence. But I was like, how'd you do that? How'd you get that tree up there? How'd you get up there? Yeah, echoing everything you guys said. I'm a big fan of Upgrade, which Shannon made me go see. I'm a big fan of The Invisible Man. Yeah. And so this being sort of the third in that series of like, sort of body horror to a degree, I think is really, really interesting. I think Julia Garner's a star. Julia Garner's so good. I think she's great. So I'm actually like mostly excited to go see her really kind of own this movie as the female in peril, a la, Jamie Lee Curtis and Sigourney Weaver and so many other great ladies that have been in peril in cinema history. I think everything John said about the way they're kind of using the Wolfman to kind of talk about these things is interesting. But I also really do love what this trailer showed, which John touched on, is not only are we witnessing the horror of the traditional story of a loved one was scratched, somebody I care about was scratched, and they're slowly becoming this monster, and this person that is supposed to protect me is now the thing that I am in danger from, which is great. But it really looks like we're going to get sort of a really cool visual cinematic interpretation of what it feels like to slowly become the monster. Those moments where we're in the dark or we're in the lights on him and he's having a trouble understanding her. And so there's something sort of, I forget the name of the movie. Anthony Hopkins was nominated for an Oscar for it, about Alzheimer's a couple of years ago.
Oh, The Father, right? Isn't that what The Father?
Oh, yeah.
I found The Father to be one of the most horrific movies I've ever watched in my life. Because I have watched a ton of movies about what it is like for someone to deal with a loved one who has Alzheimer's.
Right.
But The Father was a movie where Anthony Hopkins, a bunch of stuff's happening, and you as the viewer are very confused. You don't understand what's going on. And what they did is they did a movie that was like, this is what it feels like to have Alzheimer's. And I was fucked up for several days about it. And it looks like this is kind of that. It's like, it's hard enough to watch Julia Garner be like, oh, my husband is turning into a monster. But to have to be like, oh, fuck, man, this guy is barely holding on. Like that, to me, I think is going to be the thing that makes this movie stand out.
Yeah. I mean, there is that moment in the trailer where she's talking to Christopher Abbott, and you can hear how her voice is distorted in his ears. And again, that is just something that that is so Leigh Whannell, like to take a concept like this and just being able to flip it on its head. I imagine that we will all be on the edges of our seat for this one. But Wolfman comes out. Oh, you got something, Mikey?
Well, no, just to underscore to everyone listening right now, because we've all sort of said it about Leigh Whannell, but like if you have not watched Upgrade or The Invisible Man, Upgrade, not strictly speaking a horror spooky movie, it's a little bit more action, but it's enough.
It's sci-fi.
It's a horror element. And it counts for spooky. I feel like now is the time of year that if you are listening to us right now and you've not watched Upgrade or Invisible Man, absolutely over the next week or so, watch both of these movies. They're so good.
Yeah, and as you said, Mike,
Go ahead, Johnny.
Right, Logan Marshall Green. Who the hell? Not a lot of people know about Logan Marshall Green. And Elizabeth Moss is not a theatrical star, right? But the performances that he got out of both of those people in those films
absolutely
makes me excited for Julia Gardner and Christopher Abbott. And Shannon, just to underscore your point again, the idea that okay, he can't understand what she's saying, right? Sometimes when you're talking to people who are so far down the wormhole, in essence, it sounds like they're speaking a whole nother language, and you're just like,
maybe
so
she should use smaller words.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Oh no, there's the.
Is that a shot? I'm unclear because things go over my head.
Oh,
I'm a dummy, and also I'm vertically challenged. I figure I would get in front of that bus before it ran over me.
I'm quick. Nothing goes over my head. Anyway.
Yes, I loved Upgrade, and as it has been established, I'm not a thinking man. So you absolutely should watch Upgrade and The Invisible Man before we get Wolfman on January 17th.
His wife is going to shoot us both. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
If I'm able to adequately explain what happened, words aren't my friend. Our next trailer that is going to star who I really, really hope gets to play James Gunn's Batman. This one is The Monkey. This one is starring Theo James, again, someone that I am a huge fan of. And in this one, we actually get two Theo Jameses. He's playing twins. This one is based on a short story by Stephen King, produced by James Wan, and written and directed by one of Vogel's favorite filmmakers from recent times, Osgood Perkins, the writer and director of Longlegs.
Hello.
So this is basically, this seems like it has a wry sense of humor. It's sort of Stephen King meets Final Destination by way of a wind-up monkey. I thought this trailer was so much fun, but who did I go to first last time? I don't remember.
Me. So go to Mikey. Yeah.
All right. Mikey, again, small words. What did you think of our first look at the monkey?
Well, to your point, I was like, I like Stephen King. I like Theo James. I liked the tone of this trailer. I was like, oh, okay, it's kind of like quirky horror. It's kind of got like a little bit of a sharp sense of humor to it. And then it was like, Osgood Perkins, writer director of Longlegs. And I was like, maybe I'm out. Maybe I'm out. To be clear, I don't hate Longlegs. I didn't come out and go, that was horrible. It had been talked up so much, and I kind of came out and went, okay, I guess fine, cool, some stuff happened. Cool. So the Osgood Perkins part of this equation makes me a bit more hesitant, but everything else about the trailer did look like a lot of fun. Like it just looked like this wild, like at first I thought we were going to kind of we're going to go real creepy with this. And as soon as like the music kicked in and some of like the moments, I was like, okay. And so I do really love the tone of the trailer. And maybe Osgood Perkins, given the runway to be a little quirkier and sillier, maybe that will be my jam. We'll see. But the Longlegs factor definitely made me pause.
So I'm a big chicken with scary movies. Johnny less so, but still he hangs out in the coop from time to time.
Oh yeah.
Johnny, did you think this looked Osgood or Osbad?
I have not seen Longlegs, so I may have to go and finally watch this one. Maybe even do a reaction for my channel. So I'm looking forward to this. This looks great. I love Stephen King short stories that are turned into feature films. Right. I love how. I think a lot of people who understand Stephen King gravitate to those short stories and then want to flesh them out in ways that are really interesting. Shawshank Redemption being a really great example of that. And so I love this idea. This looks so good. This feels like old school Stephen King, like 80s, 90s good. Like, Stephen King has that energy to it that's updated for 2024. I like Theo James as well. So this idea of, and it has shades of The Gift, right? Like if you want what you want, you just turn the monkey and you can say what you want and then things happen. But what's the consequences of those things happening? Like all great Stephen King horror has. Like what's the consequences of getting the thing you actually want? And so this is fascinating in its exploration. And again, I like that it's a smaller film. And so it's going to be much more of a character study in exploring the horror side of these things. So yeah, damn good trailer. Very excited. Had no idea this was even happening until I saw the trailer, and now I'm 1,000% looking forward to it.
Well, The Monkey comes out February 21st, and that brings us to our last trailer, our first look at The Electric State. This is from the Russo brothers, their latest Netflix endeavor, written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. The last time, like, this quartet is famous for their work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They have a very high batting average in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Their last endeavor together was The Gray Man, that was also for Netflix, which, depending on who you talk to, didn't necessarily check all the boxes. But this one has a star-studded cast, a lot of folks that they've worked with in the past, with Chris Pratt, Millie Bobby Brown, Anthony Mackie, Giancarlo Esposito. This one is based off of the novel written by Simon Stalanog. And yeah, I mean, this is another film that just has an incredible scope. Visually, it's one of those things that, like, you hope Netflix gives it a theatrical release, because it feels like this movie is meant to be seen on the biggest screen possible. But Johnny, I'll throw it over to you first. What did you think of our first look at The Electric State?
Okay, I'll watch it. It's, you know, because I like Marcus and McFeely, and I love the Russo brothers, especially when they work together. Gray Man was fine. It was not anything to write home about. It was certainly watchable. It had no business being as long as it was, but it was certainly watchable, right? This looks like fun, but I have to say, I'm kind of not feeling Chris Pratt anymore. And I love Millie Bobby Brown, but I don't really see her as this put butts in seats type of lead. But this is a streaming movie, so it doesn't have to necessarily check that box. But yeah, I found myself a little bit like, okay, I've seen this stuff before. It was great to see Ki-Hee Kwan. So that was fun to see. Robots versus humans. Our Mark Strong before there was a Mark Strong, Stanley Tucci being in this. So I mean, I like it, but I wasn't blown away by it, and I wanted to be blown away by it, which is why I say, yeah, it's fine.
Mikey, is The Electric State letting you feel charged? I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things that are interesting about it. I mean, I think, like, I was reading a bit about it, and I think the story is, you know, whenever we do our robots rebelled storylines, it's usually like a government robot or someone like Elon Musk created a robot and went wild. But I think this story is more like, these are like animatronic characters that kind of like it's almost like if Walt Disney's, if Pirates of the Caribbean broke and the pirates did try to kill the tourists, like, that's kind of like where I think this sort of story goes. But what I kind of found interesting is it's not really robots versus humans. This is like the story that happens after we had robots versus humans. Like, there was a robots versus humans. Robots have been punished, and now the world kind of sucks for everybody. And this group of humans and robots get together to, I guess, help Millie Bobby Brown find her brother or whatever the storyline is. So just visually, the take on robots is very different. Like, you know, I mean, we see like a Mr. Peanut in there. Like, everyone has like these big eyes. Like, it looks like, you know, Small World, Peter Pan, and Pirates of the Caribbean are like, let's go on a journey. And that in and of itself kind of gave a nice refresh on the robot apocalypse stories that we have seen countless times over and over again. So visually, that was really interesting. Can they deliver? It's kind of like, are we getting Infinity War, or are we getting Gray Man? I'm with John. I don't think Gray Man is horrible. Like, I think Gray Man is a perfectly watchable movie. I agree that it's too long, and I think the action scenes are not shot great. But it's perfectly watchable. It's not the worst thing in the world. This team, I mean, this foursome of Marcus McFeely and the Russo brothers have arguably given us some of the biggest in scope, epic movies of recent memory. I mean, I think most people listening to this would agree that the portal scene alone in Endgame is like a top 10 sitting in your theater watching a movie happen moment. And so if they can do that with an original thing like this, great. But I'm more excited and interested about it than John is. But I will agree that based on the concept, which I do find really interesting, I kind of wanted the trailer to move me more than it did. And like I got to the end of the trailer and I was like, okay, I'm absolutely going to watch this. This is very much in my wheelhouse.
Right.
But I wish I was more excited. I didn't come away from this being like, fuck, I can't wait. I kind of came away being like, okay, we'll see how this goes.
Well, and to the Gray Man comparisons, like it's a spy movie. Like that's at its very core, it's a spy movie. And the Gray Man cost about $200 million to make, if estimates on the internet are to be believed. And I remember watching the first trailer and I'm like, I don't see $200 million up on the screen. Now with the Electric State, the alleged budget, which has ballooned a little bit, is allegedly $320 million.
Good God.
So I think for a $200 million spy movie, The Gray Man severely underdelivered. $320 million, that money looks like it's on the screen for this one.
For
but
sure
also,
on the screen, yeah.
That is a crazy amount of money to spend on something that is not going to hit theaters, in my opinion.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, again, visually, it looks stunning. I do understand John's point that there can be a point that people get to with a certain star that you're just not interested in them anymore, partly because of what they've done on screen, partly because of their personal lives. Like that does affect how your movie going audience sees you. What do you think, Mikey?
But this trailer made me feel like a little bit though, like this is not a good, like I watched the trailer and I was like, this could be good or it could be Imaginary Friends.
Yeah.
Like Imaginary Friends, huge cast, bunch of really famous people doing voices, just special effects. Like the budget was very much on screen, and definitely another movie that should have been very much in my wheelhouse. And we went, me and Gabe and Paul went to go see the movie. And when it got done, they looked at me and said, "What did you think?" And I said, "When I die, if I go to hell is going to be me watching this movie on a loop." Because I want to kill myself. Right? Like I very much did not like that movie. And so like this movie kind of has that. This, if it hits, it hits, and if it doesn't hit, it's Imaginary Friends.
Yeah.
Well, The Electric State, aka It Might Be If, comes out March 14th on Netflix.
All right, let's take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll jump into Superman thoughts here right after this.
Mr.
Vogel.
So the internet likes to fight. The internet likes to fight about a lot of things. We fight about Star Wars. We fight about Marvel movies. We fight about casting. But this week, the internet fought a little bit about a dog. Because James Gunn released an image of Krypto the Superdog, who will be appearing in his Superman movie. And it's, as you can see if you're watching on the YouTube feed, it is Superman and Krypto sitting on the moon, looking down at the Earth in an image that is straight from, I believe, All-Star Superman, but straight from the Superman comics. And boy, oh boy, people have feelings. Now, first of all, one of the most obvious feelings is that Krypto traditionally does not look like this dog does. And James Gunn sort of explained that, saying that, although Krypto is historically a generic white dog, sometimes a lab, a white shepherd, a husky, or a Dalmatian, he's an alien. So he wouldn't necessarily be exactly any of those things. And he also revealed that his adopted dog, Ozu, inspired Krypto being included in the film. Ozu had a difficult background coming from a hoarding situation and immediately came in and destroyed James Gunn's home, his shoes, his furniture, even his laptop. And he was struck by how much worse it would be if this dog had superpowers. And thus, Krypto made it into the script. I have gotten in arguments with John. I tweeted the photo and said something, maybe making fun of Batman versus Superman a little bit, and gotten a lot of fights with the army of Snyder fans that are on social media. People have a lot of feelings, not only about Krypto, and that he doesn't necessarily look exactly like a lot of people feel like Krypto looks like, but more to the point, the cheesiness of Krypto, the cheesiness of Krypto's inclusion, and the cheesiness of the photo of Krypto and Superman looking at the Earth. A lot of people feel like this is in keeping with the spirit of Superman and who Superman is. A lot of people feel like they don't want this, and this is a sign that they are not going to be a fan of what James Gunn is bringing them. And I have been dealing with this all week, so I am going to let you two talk about it. Gentlemen, how do you feel? Let's start with small words McClung down there. Shannon.
That's crazy. Wow.
Doggy good or doggy bad?
Doggy soft, tail wag happy. I mean, the visual of this, I absolutely loved. I mean, this to me, this is a boy and his dog. I mean, this it sort of encapsulates everything that I think they are going for with this version of Superman. I would argue, and I know I'm going to get shouted down by Mr. Roca up there. I would argue that this should have been the first image released from the movie and not that shot of David Cornsweet putting his boot on with the giant eye in the background. I mean, I think this sort of captures what James Gunn wants Superman to be for the universe that he's constructing. Now, I did have the same thought. I'm like, typically Krypto's not a shaggy looking dog.
Right.
Like he's a short hair white dog. Does it bother me that Krypto has some shaggy fur? Not at all. But also, I mean, I was never a big Superman reader. And I understand the point of view that folks have that feel Krypto maybe is a little sillier than what they are wanting for this cinematic universe that Warner Brothers is trying to create, which they tried to do the first time and it didn't work. So, I mean, this is a big swing. I mean, this is potentially asking a lot of an audience that have gotten used to a certain way that superhero stories are told. Again, on paper, Captain America should not have worked, but Chris Evans and Kevin Feige made that work. So I am cautiously crossing my fingers because, again, the visual I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I would say the visual is beautiful, right? My only quibble is that he's only looking over North America, and that seems a little ethnocentrist in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. But I like the visual.
No. I mean, in Man of Steel, they destroyed parts of the U.S.
That's true. That's true. I just did that to mess with Michael. No, I think it's a beautiful image, and I actually think I agree with you, Shannon. I think this should have been the first image. It's a very wholesome image. This is absolutely, as you said, a boy and his dog. It's universal, but also distinctly American in the way it's portrayed. And you would have seen the logo on his back, on his cape. So you'd introduce the logo in that way. And yes, I think this is fine. I mean, there's a picture of James. He put his dog up there, him and Ozu there. Very sweet. I know it's slightly out of focus, best I could do there, but like that's the picture that he has. So it's and the idea that it's he wanted to pay homage to his dog, and also the idea of like dogs that have been in these bad situations. A lot of dog lovers, are love their dogs, and a lot of them take them from bad situations to try to, put them in a healthier situation so they can flourish and find love and what have you. So I think it's a beautiful sentiment for him to do that overall. I'm not mad that it doesn't look like Krypto from the comics. I'm okay with that. I really don't think that's a big deal. My issue is we've got 45 fucking characters now in this goddamn movie, and it is just the opening of the universe. I saw some people go, you know what, Captain America Civil War had yes, that's 30 movies deep, 10 movies deep, whatever. This is the opening of your universe. Slow down. The Authority, Guy Gardner, Hawkwoman, Jimmy, Lois, Perry, Mom, Pa Kent, all these other people, Lex, all these other people, and now we're going to throw in Krypto. It's a lot of characters, and I know this is a universe where superheroes already exist, but if we're losing out on the backstory the first time we're seeing all of these characters, I think it's a little frustrating for me personally. So I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't know how you work it into the story, because the origin is that Krypto was sent from Krypton before Clark and was a puppy, and when he lands on Earth, he is a full-grown dog and has the similar powers to Superman. So are we doing that? So there's just a lot in my head when I look at it. But the photo itself, I think, is a beautiful photo. But what it could lead to, I think, is where I have my reservations.
Well, let me ask, because I've been dealing with this and we talked about it a little bit on our Geek Buddies text chain. To be fair, I think where a lot of people are questioning this, and it's a question they've had the entire time with James Gunn stuff, is you brought him up earlier, like what Zack Snyder was aiming to do with his DC universe with Man of Steel. And we've talked about this a lot. Like, I don't love what he did with Pa Kent with Kevin Costner. You do. You really like it.
I do love it.
Zack Snyder was going for a thing, and it was both visually and thematically a darker universe. Not that it didn't have its moments of levity, not that it didn't have its moments of hope. And Zack Snyder very publicly has said his whole idea was that this journey was going to be Clark becoming the Superman that represents hope and light, that he never fully got to do because he didn't get to continue on with his whole big story. But it is a very different tone. And what James Gunn, to your point, with everything that he's doing, even though he does have some things like The Authority, which almost by definition has to be heavy and dark, like this is a brighter, lighter universe. And the first image of Superman pulling his boots on, combined with this image of Superman sitting with a boy and his dog, everything is like, this is going to be a lighter universe. And even the inclusion of Krypto says we're going to do a little bit more silly stuff. Like, I love Krypto. I'm a big Superman fan. I've been reading the comics since I was in college, and the Superman family is wild and crazy and weird. And I love that he has his dog that has heat vision. Putting that in a live action movie is a big swing and kind of creates a very different universe than what we were getting. And I think that's where, as I experienced firsthand, a lot of Snyder fans are really butting up against this picture. So as someone who likes that universe more, how do you feel this compares to that? And in addition to being concerned about hitting the ground running in a movie with 50 characters in it, are you concerned about the tone of James Gunn's universe, DC universe, given that you liked the other version more than I did?
Yeah, because I mean, this was Zack Snyder's Krypto. That's my Krypto. Hashtag that's my Krypto. But no, I'm just joking. But my concerns are more because just there's too many. So, but the approach I'm okay with. I'm okay with the Boy Scout approach. I get it. I just don't want to sacrifice all the darkness. We are a much more cynical society. And yes, it is punk rock now because we swung all the way back around. It's punk rock to be a good person. It's punk rock to do the right thing. It's punk rock to be nice to people, to want to find common ground with people. It is very punk rock. But there is a darkness here. And so I just don't want it to be Norman Rockwell without the darkness underneath. Because if you go and really study those Norman Rockwell paintings, there's always a little twinge of darkness underneath it all, which I thoroughly enjoy. So I hope they've got that element. But Superman is a naturally inspiring, hopeful character. So I get it. The reason I love Man of Steel is because it's a change of pace. And it's something that works. And for me, as the son of immigrants, to me, the alien immigrant story that is essential to the foundation of Man of Steel appeals to me in deeper levels. Although I love the Christopher Reeve Superman, of course, just like the documentary that's out, which everybody should go see. It's a beautiful story that's being told. So I hope it's good. I am not cheering against this. I just have trepidation and caution. And the Krypto thing, how do you make that work? So I just have questions. That's what I would say.
Shannon?
Yeah, I mean the inclusion by itself. What was my name? Christian now?
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, guys.
The inclusion of Krypto doesn't mean that Krypto is going to have a red cape on, flying around, heat visioning people. My guess is that is not how Krypto will be utilized in this. I think you might see Krypto fly, but I don't think we're necessarily going to get Krypto in the red cape. If we did, James Gunn has earned a certain level of trust. Now that can be washed away very fast.
Yep.
But again, I think he knows the audience well enough to keep some of those sillier aspects in check. if the movie comes out and again, we see Krypto fly, but that's about it. I think there's certainly a potential that we're going to see some sort of animated Krypto series at some point. And I think that would be great. I mean, the DC League of Super Pets, I thought that was an adorable film. The inclusion of Krypto doesn't make me pause. It will just depend on how Krypto is utilized, and my guess is it will be on a limited basis.
I know we got to jump to the next topic. I will just say that let's remember that there was a time where if you said you were going to do a big budget superhero movie and you were going to put a foul-mouthed raccoon and his best friend who is a tree in the movie, that would sound ridiculous. Everybody would say, you can't do that. And Rocket and Groot are now two of the most popular characters in not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but Marvel, period. So I do think if he nailed the talking tree and the raccoon, I think we'll see what he can do.
But we had time with them in that movie to their backstory and to see their story. So I don't know if we're going to get that with Krypto. But you make an excellent point, Michael. But I throw it back. I want to ask you a question, Michael, to throw back, and then we'll jump up. It's like, does this open the? Because these are like the fringe areas of Superman. Bringing in Krypto, I'm like, this opens the door to the super family. So then, by the same token, is Man-Bat in play down the road on the Batman side of things? Are we going to start exploring the Bat family and some of the crazier sides of the Bat family? Do we now open the door? We're getting Damian Wayne. I'm sure we're going to get Dick Grayson at some point, and we're going to get more of that side. But are we now opening the door to these other kind of fringer characters being a part of?
Not only are we opening the door to Man-Bat, we're opening the door to Bat-Mite and Mr. Mixer-Click. Like, James Gunn is into the weird shit. I mean, just to be like, and I'm not saying like I think you can absolutely. I'm not the biggest fan of what Zack Snyder's vision for the DC universe was. You can absolutely overcorrect. To your point, right. What I hope, and like I love Superman being the Boy Scout.
Yeah.
For several reasons. If you've known me at any point in my life for any period of time, me liking the Big Blue Boy Scout pretty much makes sense. But to John's point, a Big Blue Boy Scout in a bright and shiny universe where everybody is happy and everybody is nice actually doesn't work for me any more than a depressed Superman in a dark and stormy universe. It's the contrast that works. You actually need a somewhat cynical world, and you do need, to John's point, the darkness. You do need darkness in your story. And the darkness is what makes Superman shine brighter. So I do hope we get that balance. I agree with John on that. So we'll see.
We'll see. Man-Bat. Love it. All right. Well, let's take a break. And on the other side, we'll jump in. Speaking of dark universe, we'll jump into some Spider-Man, Spider-Verse stuff of live action here on the Geek Buddies right after this.
Do 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 do.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the big one, and that's Spider-Man 4 here. This week, Tom Holland was on the Rich Roll podcast and spoke about his feelings about the script of Spider-Man 4, and he's very happy with what they've done so far, likes the script itself, but he also thinks it needs a bit more work. But he said him and Zendaya read the script. They were super excited about the script, and they were bouncing off the walls because it's a, quote, real movie. So, Shannon McClung, what does this mean? What does he mean, quote, real movie? And is this just him being happy and promoting it and being excited about it? And how much input does Tom Holland have in these scripts? What are your thoughts on this? Telling the writers that they need more work. It needs more work.
Well, I mean, that was a fascinating interview. I mean, because he does state, like, I signed a 6-film contract. And I fulfilled the obligations of that contract. And now he has been rewarded with something that a lot of folks in Hollywood would love to have, and it is the power to say no. And it seems like hopefully he's using that power wisely. To that quote of like, this is a real movie, I think, and again, I could be mistaken. I think when you are the lead of a very successful trilogy, one of the most successful trilogies in the most successful cinematic universe of all time, there are constant conversations of where the character is going to go. That, you know, we had heard a long time, Feige and Tom Holland, they wanted to go the street level route. Sony wants to revisit the multiversal route because they saw the gold in the hills with, you know, having the 3 Spider-Men together. I think him saying that this is a real movie, he's finally been given a thing that he can wrap his head around as an actor. Because despite all of the glitz and the glamour of it, at the end of the day, his job is to go and to serve this character as authentically as possible. And it seems like, even though the script might not be to exactly where he wants, it is in the right direction where he can wrap his head around this material as an actor. Now, with whether it's television, whether it's films, things are constantly being rewritten. And you hear that word rewrite, and I think for the folks that maybe don't work in the industry, you hear that word rewrite, and it's like there's a problem. You're rewriting because you have to fix something. It's not always I have to fix, it's I have to improve. And things can always be improving. And, you know, even once you're done filming and you're editing, they
Did he say improving? Did he say improving?
Things can always be improved. We've
Shannon
landed on this point
Shannon
earlier.
make word go wow.
That's
Things
amazing.
can always be gooder. Things can always be better.
Oh man.
This is a monster that you guys created.
No. Shannon is quite intelligent. I want to make it clear. We're just having fun.
All evidence to the contrary.
All evidence to the other side of the case to the thing. But no, things can always be made better. And even once you're done filming, I mean, most folks will say you don't release something because you're happy, you release because you run out of time.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the case with this, but I think it's a really encouraging sign. One, that he's not willing just to go in and cash a paycheck, that he does, at least based off of the interview, he does feel a responsibility that we took this character on a fantastic journey.
Yeah.
If the journey you want to continue that character, if it doesn't serve the character, then maybe we don't take that journey. So he seems like he's got, I mean, what is he? Is he almost 30 now? I mean, he's like, obviously he's not a kid anymore. But he's got a very good, responsible head on his shoulders. I mean, when you look at the journey that RDJ took Tony Stark on, I mean, a lot of us didn't like Iron Man 2 and mixed feelings on Iron Man 3. You look at the trajectory of that character and you think that RDJ had a lot to do with that. And my guess is that Tom Holland, even though he probably didn't at the beginning, he probably does now. And it seems like hopefully he is wielding that power responsibly, because with great power.
Okay, you know what? You're pretty smart there. I'll give that one to you.
Yeah, Michael,
I'm going to say something incorrect in a second. Just
what are your thoughts, Michael? He said, you know, they're on a bit of a time crunch. He seemed to be alluding in these responses about trying to get this done by a certain time and having it fit into the bigger picture. But he also said him and Zendaya were bouncing off the walls of the script being excellent, just needing a little more work.
I think the thing he said about the time crunch is the most important part of the interview. But really quickly to what Shannon was saying, I just saw, I was flipping through YouTube and I saw an Elizabeth Olsen interview from a while ago. But the interviewer was asking her what was she's like, do people get cast in the Marvel Cinematic Universe come to you for advice? And she has something, and they're like, what's the one piece of advice that you give to people coming into the Marvel Universe? And she goes, make the contract for one movie.
Oh,
and it was because of exactly what Shannon said. She goes, if you make the contract for one movie and it's a hit, you have way more control after that. Like, you can definitely, they're going to want you to come back, but you have more control. And that's what Tom Holland, Tom Holland made a 6-movie deal. But he's done with it. And now he has that control that she is talking about. And I think for her, she kind of came into the Marvel Universe, and look, whether you like the movie or not, based on her interviews, it's clear that she felt that there was some problems with Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
And I think she is now in a position where if and when Wanda comes back, Elizabeth Olsen is going to have more control, just like Tom Holland does. I mean, you think about Joe Locke right now. If Joe Locke just made a deal for Agatha all along and that was it, chances are he's going to be able to write his ticket. So I do think there is a level of when you have inhabited this character in the way that a lot of these people stepping into the Marvel universe have, and you start to really feel an ownership, and you start to see the way that fans interact with you. You do feel a bit more of a responsibility, and you do feel like you don't want to be just thrown into a movie and saying, well, this is what the higher ups decided. You want to have a say in it. Right. So I do think it's, Tom Holland is sort of stretching his Spidey senses there, but I think it's kind of fun to watch. As I was saying, I think the time crunch thing is the most interesting, because I think what really happened here is everybody knows that Marvel and Sony were in a fight. Marvel wanted ground level heroes. Sony wanted to just bring back the Spider-Verse because they're like, that's where the money's at. And I think they dragged their feet long enough that Marvel was forced into, we don't have time to do a ground level superhero anymore. Because when you get into Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars, ground level superhero ceases to make sense. The whole fucking multiverse is collapsing. We're going to have incursions. We have so much going on that I think it's almost a given that Peter Parker is wrapped up in Battle World, whatever the fuck they're going to whether it be Battle World or the entire MCU gets shoved into the void, whatever ends up happening, I think that's what we're talking about. And I think what Tom Holland was responding to when he had said that him and Zendaya read the script and were bouncing off the walls is, for someone who was probably arguing for, I want to do Peter Parker and Daredevil fighting Kingpin or whatever it was they were planning, they got a script that was not that, but they liked where it was going. This gives us a reason to do this movie. This continues Peter Parker's story. So I think I'm glad he likes it. I'm glad he has a level of control, that he gets to do it his thing. But to me, the biggest thing of this, as we're trying to sort of figure out when things are happening, is we are on a time crunch. Because the way he says it, he goes, when you're doing this, even if you are in your own franchise, you're one cog in a wheel, and there's a lot of bigger cogs around you, and you have to figure out where you fit. And everything that he was saying, I was like, okay, so you are going to be between Doomsday and Secret Wars, and they are rushing to get this script done because they got to film it, because they got to get the movie out, because that's where it's going to go. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I can now start postulating on where I think this movie is going to go. I think it also means the likelihood of us seeing Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire again are very high. Yeah. And also I think probably us seeing a young Miles Morales in live action is very high. I think at this point, even though I, like most of us, was very much on the I want the ground level Peter Parker story, now I'm like, okay, that's out the window. And so let's fucking do it. Let's fucking go and give me Miles, give me Spider-Gwen. Give me Emma Stone as Spider-Gwen and have Andrew Garfield lose his shit. Let's just go for it at this point and make it good. So we'll see.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield, of course, who right now is doing press for We Live in Time, which is out in theaters. I have yet to catch that one, but I hear a lot of good things. He talked about Spider-Man's head. I think to people, I think that what it would take is a great idea, great concept, something that is surprising and odd and just joyful. It has to be worthwhile and fun. I think we had such a great time on that last one that you want to just go, okay, leave it. It was great. It worked. It was a risk, and it really, really worked. But he said he is open to the idea and having the courage to do it. So he said he's down. So I it's funny. Toby almost never chimes in on this, but it's always Andrew and Tom, and Toby's just sitting back going, whatever the check says. Let's see what the check says. So I like that.
Well, and arguably, I mean, to the point of that. And look, if they go for it and we see Toby again, great. But the way that they ended No Way Home, which I thought was, I think No Way Home is one of the best parts of the multiverse saga.
Yeah,
Toby's Spider-Man is good.
Yeah,
like him and MJ worked their shit out. They've got a good relationship. He has this wonderful moment with Otto Octavius, his mentor. He's older. He is a Spider-Man who has worked it out and has made his work-life balance work, and he's good. So if we don't ever see him again, it's like he got his happy ending. Yeah. Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker is still working through a lot of stuff. So there's still more story for him there. So I would be happy to see more of him.
It can be improving.
To be improved. I really want to see his story be improved.
This is why we need merch. So we just put hashtag improving on the front. All right, well, let's move on to some story that broke this week of Silver Sable. This is apparently happening as if we don't have enough coming up with KRAVEN, and we've got a new Venom coming. Ladies and gentlemen, Silver Sable is apparently in motion again. This project got pretty far into development when it was Silver Sable and the Black Cat, with Gina Prince Bythewood, who some of you may remember recently as a director of The Old Guard. This is supposedly going to focus on Sylvia Sablanova tracking down a fugitive, Felicia Hardy, for the U.S. Department of Justice. That was what a part of it was, but looks like they are actually exploring this thing and opening the door to Silver Sable. This is someone who doesn't have a lot of powers. She's just a really good assassin. This is like Ballerina, but in the Spider-Man universe. So, Michael, are we to be excited about this, given the Morbius KRAVEN Venom thing? Well, we haven't seen KRAVEN, but given the Morbius Venom side of things, are we to be excited about this?
No.
Okay.
We have litigated what Sony has been doing with their Spider-Man universe, and I will just say, all of these pieces are potentially great. Like, even as much of a mess as the Sony universe, I'll be a little bit more positive in my spin today. Even as much of a mess as the Sony universe is in right now, and I think we all agree, whether you like Venom or this or that, in general, it's kind of a hodgepodge, and it just doesn't. It needs a big idea.
Yeah.
Like, that's what. Now I will say, because I know, we're going to talk about Tom Hardy in a second. Knull being introduced in Venom 3 is a big idea. I hate the Venom movies, but them introducing Knull and saying we're kind of opening up the universe, I get intrigued. A big swing, a big idea can make up for several bad movies in a cinematic universe. So if the big swing is this is Andrew Garfield's universe, if the big swing is this is Spider-Gwen's universe, if the big swing is anything that sort of coalesces and says, the reason we had all of these disparate things going on is here's where we're getting on track and here's what our universe is really about. Great. Until that point, every one of these things just seems like a one-off that kind of doesn't fit in. And then they sort of, at the last minute, throw in a post-credit sequence that kind of tries to say, look at what we're doing, but it never quite lands. And so as someone who just wants to enjoy movies, I want them to come up with a big idea. I want them to really wow me and go, fuck, I hate Morbius, but I'm going to have to go watch it again because now I'm kind of into what's going on. I just, this news all by itself doesn't do it. It's just another piece it's a piece on a board where I don't know what the board is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. What about you, Shannon? Does this feel like Michael, does it feel like a disparate part of the whole situation? And another, I forgot to mention Madam Web, another sterling addition to this this Spider-Man universe, live action Spider-Verse. What do you think about this Silver Sable thing coming back into motion?
When you remove the things that make Silver Sable unique, what you're removing is her connection to the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
In that she is she runs up against Spider-Man. Her country's next to Doctor Doom's country.
Good point.
You take that stuff. If you just want to make a generic mercenary film, just make a generic mercenary film. Why waste the property? Why waste the character? But as Vogel said, if they do take a big risk and be like, hey, this is Spider-Gwen's universe, to me, that's interesting. I think the character by itself, it doesn't make any sense to make that movie unless you can incorporate those Marvel facets that make the character unique. Because otherwise, you're just making a generic movie. KRAVEN was the one that I was the most open to. Okay, this could be interesting. Do you need Spider-Man? It'd be nice. Do you need that larger Marvel stuff? It would be cool, and it looks like they have used it, especially with Rhino, and I guess they have said they're going to use other stuff. I don't know. Can you make it unique without using its Spider-Man-ness? I don't know. We'll see. On the surface, it doesn't hold a lot of interest for me.
This feels like an Elseworlds thing without being an Elseworlds thing, and it's a little frustrating at this point, right? The Madam Web, the Venom, and we're going to see KRAVEN in a second, and all this stuff. It just, yeah, it just feels so. You announced the Silver Sable movie, and my reaction is, oh, great, another character from the Spider-Man universe that you're going to mess up. And so it doesn't get me excited until I find out who is actually behind it in the making of this, whether it's a series, which that could maybe be interesting, or if it's a movie. I'm going to see, because Gina Prince Bythewood is a good director, and so the fact that you walked away from that project, you got to kind of match her level of director or higher to get me excited to see what you're going to do with this version of Silver Sable, because she isn't. If you strip away Spider-Man, she's an assassin and a defender and a mercenary, all this kind of thing. She's not as strongly. If you remove the Marvel Universe, as Shannon said, it's not, the appeal goes away. So yeah, we'll see. All right, let's move on to what Michael was alluding to here. Tom Hardy was giving, of course, doing press for Venom: The Last Dance, which comes out, I think, next week, if you can believe it. He was on stage at New York Comic Con, which is happening currently right now there in New York. He said, I would love to fight Spider-Man. I would love to fight him now. I'm happy to fight Spider-Man today, 100%. I would never say never. We were specifically set up to bring Venom to a movie format, and that's what we've done. The Last Dance is the final piece in that trilogy, and we're really excited about that. Ooh, final piece in the trilogy, spoilers. But also mention that Knull, this is the introduction to Knull here in this movie. He's a massive, massive character. So you can never be a one and done with him. This is just a little taste of Knull. We get to meet him. What the future holds for him, who knows? And that's what Kelly Marcel, the director, said. The plot for Eddie and Venom closes here, but as you know, there are lots of symbiote stories in the canon. There are lots of places to go, and maybe there are a few Easter eggs in here that might start the journey off. Shannon, does this make you any more excited to see this movie?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
and do you want to see them fight, I guess? Tom Hardy versus Tom Hardy.
The way that the journey that Eddie Brock has gone on with Venom, I don't think we'll ever see with them, at least. We're not going to see the Venom story that I think we were maybe jazzed to see at one point.
Right.
Like that true adversarial dynamic. I mean, now, like, Eddie's a good guy. I mean, that's what has been established over the three movies. I mean, and it's been him kind of keeping Venom's instincts at bay. And like you look at where they've gotten to, at least based off the trailers, even Venom has become a better and kinder symbiote. I think they could still end up in a movie together. But in terms of, like, if you read those comics from when Venom was introduced, like after Spider-Man got rid of the suit, the black suit, we're not going to see that. Like we could see a fight, that's possible. But we're not going to see, not in this version. But the introduction of Knull, the creator of the symbiotes, I mean, that's something that could go over to Spider-Man 4. That's certainly possible. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Andy Serkis in the movie, apparently. So, Michael, your thoughts on Tom Hardy's comments here? Is this just kind of pumping everything up? Are we done with Tom Hardy, do you think? And he's just kind of saying all this stuff to have fun with it? Or what do you think?
I don't know. I think Tom Hardy just gives no fucks when he talks. So if he says he wants to fight Spider-Man, he probably wants to fight Spider-Man. But I think Shannon illustrates exactly sort of where Sony has sort of aired, which is when you do a bunch of movies where your villain characters are your main characters, inherently in the story, they have to become anti-heroes. Yeah. Venom's an anti-hero. Morbius is an anti-hero. Kraven, I am assuming, is going to be some level of anti-hero.
Yes.
And once you have a bunch of Spider-Man's rogues as anti-heroes, you put them in, even if you move them all over into the Marvel Universe, you're like, well, what do they got to fight about? They're going to team up. Like, I don't know. So that's one of the issues. I also think it's hilarious that we are now 3 movies deep in a Venom trilogy.
Yeah.
And we're living in a universe where we're like, I don't know if we're ever going to see a Spidey Venom fight. How does that even happen? Venom is one of Spider-Man's biggest villains. I have fought Venom multiple times in Spider-Man video games, and we live in this weird universe where we're like, all right, Venom 3 coming out. Maybe he'll fight Spider-Man one day. Who knows? Like, it's wild to me. But I will say, though, and I'll give, again, credit where credit is due, I do not like Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1. I think it is horrible. I think he looks like a Power Ranger. I think it is a waste. I think that I was a person who was like, the less we ever see of that Willem Dafoe Power Ranger Green Goblin, the better. I don't like it. And they sure as hell took my least favorite Spider-Man cinematic villain and put him in No Way Home and made him Peter Parker's worst villain he has ever faced and fucking turned Green Goblin around 1,000%. So that in and of itself is proof that if Tom Hardy and Sony were game and there were some way to do it, despite Shannon being correct that Eddie's a good guy and Venom is a kinder, gentler symbiote, if they could make Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin what they turned him into, and they come up with the right story, again, I hate the things I hate, but you can always turn a story around with a good story. You can always redeem a character. You can always turn a cinematic universe around. You just need the big swing. And to the Knull of it all, like I said, introducing Knull, there's big potential there.
Yeah.
There's a lot you could do, particularly knowing, as they have established, that symbiotes are a hive mind that connect throughout the multiverse.
Yeah.
That is a part of the Venom universe symbiote, which is all symbiotes connect no matter which universe they are in, which is how Venom sort of recognized Spider-Man because he is still hive mind connected to the Venom from Spider-Man 3. So Knull being the creator of symbiotes throughout the multiverse, like, it is potentially big, could be something. Do I think Sony will do it right? Probably not, but I will remain hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no offense, and I know we all love Andy, but like Andy with the Snoke, I mean Andy with the Knull. So in my opinion,
Andy with the I can't swim in Andor.
Right? Yes, that Andy. I love that Andy, and I love Planet of the Apes Andy. But
and
if you're giving me Knull Andy, I don't know if Knull Andy is something I believe necessarily. So
yeah, but Snoke Andy, that wasn't Andy's fault.
I mean, Andy's middle age. I need someone hungry and angry and who lifts weights and has got abs. I don't know.
Have you never met an angry middle-aged guy?
This is the Ian McKellen is too old to play Magneto argument, and I think it is blip. Nope. Blip. Don't need it.
By the way, I never said that. I've always loved Ian McKellen as Magneto. One last thing before we wrap up. I know we're way over time. God forbid. KRAVEN, this at New York Comic Con, this they debuted some new footage here. They debuted 7 minutes of KRAVEN the Hunter plus a scene later in the film. It's set in a frozen tundra in Russia. The opening sequence shows an adult KRAVEN being brought with convicts to a remote prison. Apparently, I'm not going to spoil anything more than that, except to say that there is a lot of killing. Pounds of weights are involved. There is deaths of thousands. He's claiming himself he's a hunter. There uses the tooth of the tiger to do this kind of stuff. And then another scene where he makes quick work of a strike force. He runs on all fours, climbing up a wall. So he called Jason Chandor was there and described the movement they wanted throughout the movie for him as, quote, an animalistic dance and a violent, amazing kind of mashup. We wanted to walk this line where it's grounded. He's not Superman, speaking about the physicality. So, Michael, yes?
I didn't listen to anything you said because you posted that picture, and I was just looking at the vein on his biceps and his abs. So, what are we talking about?
I thought we were objectifying guys. I thought we were.
I was very distracted by the open vest and the 18 pack that he there it is, that's it. I don't arms focus teen focus Joe. I don't think KRAVEN's gonna be good. From what I've heard, that footage was great. I do think though this is, and I mean, I get it, we are comic book fans are a bloodthirsty lot. There is a thing, and it's just like when all those Echo trailers came out where they showed 7 minutes of footage that from what I hear were very violent, and everyone went, fuck yeah, this is what I want. That, just like with the Echo trailer, when I said they're showing us a lot of violence and that is what they're marketing, kind of feel like the story won't be great. Kind of feels like what's happening here.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Shannon, on these comments and the description of some of the footage that we've seen for these 7 minutes?
And
well, I mean, I envy the day where I can be comfortable just rocking a vest like Aaron Taylor Johnson does in that photo. The movie itself, I mean, Am I going to go see it? Yes. Am I going to have zero expectations? Yes. Aaron Taylor Johnson is a great actor. I think Russell Crowe only gets better with age. I can't wait to see their scenes together, even though there might only be like 3 of them. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we're in a day and age where there are no limits pretty much to what you can do with action if you have the right people behind it.
Right.
Ultimately, the action, the visual spectacle does not matter if you don't care about the players that are involved. Yeah. So if we care about Aaron Taylor Johnson in these scenes, then I imagine that action is going to be very, very cathartic. If we don't, it's cotton candy.
Yeah. I mean, this gets me excited that it's going to be a violent film. So I'm cool with that. As Michael is saying, I like the darkness. I'm cool with it. But I'm also on boat with you two guys, which is I got to give a fuck about these people in order to really buy in and enjoy the darkness, right? Aaron Taylor Johnson, will I care about his version of KRAVEN by the time he starts unleashing this violence? I go into a Liam Neeson, I'm already caring for whoever he's going to play, so kill away. Keanu Reeves, kill away. I have these things. Go ahead. I'm already in. With Aaron, I don't necessarily have that. So I want to see if they do enough to develop who he is. Because if you just start the story and you're going in, then it's like an installment of Mission Impossible. But you've got to do the first one, so I have an idea what's going on. Like with the fourth one, I think, where they start with Tom in the prison. I'm already on board because I know who Ethan Hunt is. I don't know who KRAVEN is. So if you start the movie already at 100 miles per hour, it's going to turn me off eventually. Yeah. So we'll see.
KRAVEN versus Krypto, who wins?
Which version of Krypto?
Yeah, right.
Little shaggy guy that we're getting. Little shaggy Krypto versus KRAVEN the Hunter, who wins?
Does he have the Superman powers? Then I would say Krypto wins, right? I mean,
I think it's not going to be a fight. I think ultimately KRAVEN is an animal guy, and he's not going to fight a dog.
That's a fair point. That's actually a fair point. They'll bear fangs and then come together in a unity of love. But Spider-Man still won't show up. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Geek Buddies. We appreciate you all madly. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
If you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at geek_buddies. On Instagram, at _geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, again, use small words. On Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, it's Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, the thinking man's Geek Buddy, it's at MK Dune. If you'd like to follow Mr. Roca, the dark Geek Buddy, it's at the Roca Says.
Yeah, there you go. Michael, please.
Smash like button, subscribe Johnny channel, leave comment, small words, like, not like, who know, leave below, podcast, comments, stars, up in rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your social, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the varied intelligent Geek Buddies.
Yes, we've given Shannon shit, but he's an incredibly intelligent guy, as so many of you who've watched the show commented on. But nice Bizarro appearance. I appreciate that, Michael. That was thank you again, you all. And of course, it's a supersized episode. We're dropping this over the weekend, but thank you all so much for watching it. We love you all, and we'll talk to you. And look for our Penguin reviews happening on Monday, and then our Agatha All Along reviews happening later on this week. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The
Geek.
Please.
Hey!